Hello, and welcome to Outside the Zeitgeist, an opinion podcast presented by Mook Media. Please be aware that the opinions expressed on this show do not necessarily reflect those of the host platform. Outside the Zeitgeist is funded by people like you, for some reason. And now, here are your hosts, Greg and Tra.
All right, welcome to episode number 28 of Outside the Zeitgeist, and I am your resident misanthrope, Charles.
I'm your resident skeptic, Greg.
And we got Red with us. Say
Hello, darlings.
Cheers.
Cheers. And don't forget to dislike, subscribe, share, comment, and most importantly, dislike the video to show that the feeling is mutual.
And now we can get into the Nightmare Fuel, except for we got a comment to read. This is on our last episode. Did you see that Disney changed the name of Boba Fett's ship? I did see that.
I was disappointed by this.
That is disappointing.
No, also not surprised by this. Because anything that Disney gets its hands on
Jews.
becomes increasingly woke or less real in the fact that they just want to change everything so that way they can profit.
And copyright it?
Yes.
I mean, that would be like a thing. If they renamed Boba Fett's ship, then they could have the copyright and they could sell it to Star Wars. Oh, except for the name of the Boba Fett ship.
All I'm saying is Slave One makes more sense.
Yep.
From the universe standpoint, the fact that they had tons of slavery, still have tons of slavery.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that his father was a bounty hunter, probably a slave catcher in some case. I don't know, but it sounds like someone may have gotten it for that reason. I don't know.
Yeah, I think I heard that they changed it back after everybody.
I hope so.
After everybody got all.
Disney is awful.
Disney is awful. They're awful in many different ways. And moving into our Nightmare Fuel, so who likes bombs?
I wanted $2,000.
Oh.
Oh wait, no, I didn't even get $1,400.
Oh.
Oh wait, no, we got more bombs.
Yeah, well, you know, there's nothing says freedom like bombing the shit out of some other people, right? Isn't that what what was it, NBC
Absolutely.
or CBS was saying when Trump bombed the, what's it called?
It doesn't matter who Trump bombed, because when Trump did actually do something like that, they congratulated him and gave him praise. In fact, it was one of the few times they actually praised him, which makes no sense to me. But okay, let's go with that. So, you know, if you follow the narrative, quote unquote, you will be praised, and if you go against it, then they'll just smear you into oblivion.
Hey, all that matters is that we bomb people, right?
Specifically those people.
Yeah, those people.
I don't know who those people are, but as long as those people got bombed, then...
Yeah, it's fucking ridiculous. So the Biden gave the order to bomb Iranian-backed people in Iraq and Syria, and it's just like, give me a fucking break. And it's like, aren't these people fighting ISIS and all them as well? And you know, and that's the thing, right? You just keep the area in turmoil. It's like, oh, these guys are getting too powerful, better bomb them. Oh, these guys are getting too powerful, better bomb them.
You know, there seems to be a commonality between the people who keep getting bombed and the people who keep getting burnt out by Antifa and everything. It's anyone who's getting power needs to be dealt with swiftly.
Unless
it's not by the government's hand, it's by the government's pawns.
Unless it's by the shadowy cabal that runs the world, or one of them.
But, there seem to be at least three.
But you know, but speaking of Antifa, you know, I'm so glad we had, you know, those mostly peaceful protests last year, and that, you know, it's been a mostly peaceful year so far, you know, at least according to Griff Casio.
Yeah, I've heard that that crime has gone down.
Yeah.
By triple digit. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's gone up by triple digits.
No, not according to Griff Casio. Griff Casio says that all this thing about crime going up is nothing but hysteria.
Look, the GOC doesn't know anything about anything.
Well, I mean, is this really an admission by Griff Casio that guns aren't a problem? Inquiring minds want to know. What do you think?
Well, does the knowledge of guns still exist?
Yeah.
Does Ocasio still have office space?
Unfortunately.
Then crime is real.
No.
Speaking of criminal crimes, it was a criminal thing that may or may not have happened in the last election that people won't talk about ever anywhere at all. But definitely proven was the 135,000 test ballots in NYC's primary for their mayor. Apparently, the leading candidate, Eric Adams, noticed that there were additional votes. Something didn't seem right. And apparently, over 135,000 test ballots. I don't know what they mean by test ballots, but
My understanding is that they were leftover ballots pertaining to the last election that were, quote unquote, they overlooked purging them.
well, that's not how it seems according to what I've heard, because it was, I believe, he had a 16,000 vote lead before they cleared out these ballots, and then after they cleared out these ballots, if what you say is correct, this shouldn't be possible. He suddenly only had a 14,000 vote lead. So
Math checks out.
yeah, and
Dominion
other
math.
sources I've listened to believe that that he won't get the nomination to run against whatever Republican decides to run because of the fact that he is simply the wrong candidate, because he supports refunding or doing something for the police, because he is a former cop, I believe, or something of that nature.
Well, I mean, I don't know who ever decided to get behind this apparently Republican idea of defunding the police in the first place.
Look, the Demolicans work hand in hand to make certain that whatever they need to have happen is going to happen.
Oh my God, that was whatever the fuck her name was. Oh, this is apparently a Republican idea.
Shit? I'm sorry, Jen Psaki.
Oh yeah, I think you pronounced it right the first time.
Really? Sack of shit? I
Yeah.
think.
Jen Psaki? But also interesting is the fact that the DOJ is suing Georgia. I'm sure this has already been talked about by many people, but I'm bringing it up because I think we need to spread it, is the fact that the DOJ, Biden's Department of Justice, is suing Georgia over their election integrity laws, which I've read over. I don't really see any problems, huge problems. There's concessions by the Republicans to the Democrats for some things in it as well.
Oh yeah. Meanwhile, in Arizona, Maricopa County, they're saying they got to throw out the machines after the audit's done.
Oh yeah, that makes perfect sense.
The Republicans touched them and left their cooties on them.
Even though these machines are on lease.
On lease.
The machines are on lease.
Could it be their lease is up?
They didn't even take the obvious,
I
digestible
don't
explanation.
even know. I mean, it just seems suspicious to me that the DOJ would want to challenge Georgia over laws that exist in other states.
Yeah, I mean,
Especially
why aren't they challenging the other democratic states that seem to have the same exact laws?
And the Constitution makes clear that it is the states that determine the place, manner in which elections are held,
Right.
because
and once again,
that's our rule book.
Voting is a state-given right.
Is there not a degree of separation? I could have sworn that the states make their own laws, and then
Look,
the government...
federalism
That's
is not
called
a thing.
federalism, yeah.
No, federalism is not a thing.
Not anymore.
Well, I mean, that's always the thing, right? It's like when one side gets in power, they want to just overdo federalism and run the whole entire country their own way, and then the other's like, no, federalism.
Look, all I've seen for the last 30 years of my life is corruptorism. Okay? I don't know what federalism, democracy, a republic, any of this stuff is. All I know is corruptorism, because that seems to be the only thing the Demolicans care about.
Yeah, all I've seen is, everybody being told to spread their ass cheeks wider and wider.
I saw that from someone's coverage of the Pride Parade in New York City. It said, be yourself.
Oh. Does that have anything to do with that article that some woman wrote? It's like, oh, kink belongs in Pride and I want my kids to see it?
I don't know, but I'm disgusted by it, because that's not what the Pride Parade was about like 20 years ago.
I know. It's ridiculous. I mean, not only that, like, I'll once again say it, the whole idea of Pride is just stupid. I mean, it's one thing to be like, okay, yeah, I'm here and this is me and so forth, but the whole idea of Pride...
They're taking it back from the Bible. The Bible declared it was a sin. They got to take it back.
Okay. sticking with government news, Tucker Carlson.
I've heard news about this. I got interesting insight into this as well. I want to add to it, but first I want to hear what you're going to say.
Well, so Tucker Carlson comes out and says that he's got confirmation that the NSA is monitoring him, and well, the claim that he got from an insider was that the NSA is monitoring him, and that they were planning on using it to bring the show down. And the NSA responds with this what's it called? Non-rebuttal, right? It's like Tucker Carlson's not a target. Okay, that doesn't mean that he's not being spied on, and we have no plans. This, that, and the other thing, and we only monitor foreign stuff. I'm just like, just a way to say a whole lot of nothing.
Is that their backwards way of admitting it?
It may have been. I also heard that.
Yeah, so I mean, it is lack of denial and admittance. I mean, when it comes to these institutions,
it's just such an obvious admission.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, it's hard to, in a general sense, it's hard to say that a lack of a denial is an admission, right? But when it comes to things that have a track, institutions and people that have a track record,
that was their attempt to do a "these are not the droids you're looking for" kind of maneuver.
Yeah, for the first thing I thought of when I heard this whole thing is, oh, the NSA spying on Tucker Carlson? Yeah, they're spying on all of us. We already know all this.
So, interesting, more context to this conversation here. Apparently, Tucker Carlson has an informant from the NSA that let him know.
Somebody contacted him.
But he also may have an informant that was giving him information that he was then distributing to other individuals. I can't say one way or another if this is accurate information, but Mark Levin, I watched a rant of his talking about some individual he didn't name, but who a number of left-leaning individuals seem to imply that it is Tucker Carlson that he is talking about. And they believe, or at least in the conversation, it's apparently this individual had an informant from within the government that was getting information that was then being leaked to not Fox but other left-leaning media individuals from information from from within the government, and they believe it was Tucker Carlson who is the person who was actually doing this leaking, which is really interesting. It's a very interesting because
with the whole thing of mass surveillance, and even people like Griff Casio and these other people wanting to keep lists of people. I hope somebody's keeping lists of all the people that want to keep lists of people.
Someone's definitely keeping lists of people who keep lists of people who keep lists of people who keep lists of people. In fact, I'm keeping a list of all the people who keep a list of me because I am psychic and all-knowing.
I thought it was psycho.
No.
Oh.
No, then I would have a list of everyone.
But speaking of surveillance, so Baltimore was using drones to just fly over and just scope out the area, and they were using this technology to identify people and all this, that, and the other thing across the whole city, and they got challenged in court, and it was ruled unconstitutional. And we're like, okay, great.
Of course it is.
Great. Now, if only this could be applied to all the surveillance that goes on us all the time, I mean, it's funny because the whole thing with water rights and whatnot. Water rights, yeah. You have these companies that buy up these water rights so they can sell bottled water and whatnot. And what happens with public water? Oh, it disappears. It disappears into these big data centers that are used to spy on all of us. But you're not allowed to find out about it because if somebody tells you about it, then they get put in jail for bullshit crimes, and stuck in solitary confinement without any kind of due process, or seeing their lawyers. Julian Assange.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah, because there's apparently new news has come out about him. So there was the whole idea of Julian Assange contributing to hacking came from this one witness who was guaranteed immunity for turning on Assange. So my first thought is, wow, since when did one witness and an unreliable one, known unreliable one at that, ever serve as enough reason to lock somebody up?
There's a number of cases for that.
Really, was this guy as unreliable as this guy?
No, they don't tell you that the information is bullshit. They just use it. And
I mean in a legitimate sense.
I'm only thinking of 2 right now.
Oh yeah. So now people are saying about releasing Assange, because everybody knows, anybody that has any half a fucking brain knows that everything about Assange, all these charges are all trumped up bullshit.
Hold up. Half a brain requires a lot more than you would think, because...
Well, I only have one brain cell, and I already know this.
I'm just saying, more than half the people who have half a brain still don't even know who Assange is.
Yeah. Assange is the guy that let everybody know of all the war crimes that the U.S. military-industrial complex was committing.
You see, now those people are asking you what war crimes that the industrial complex is committing.
Like torture and all that stuff.
And now those people are asking, don't we have rules against this stuff that they put into law?
No, the rules are for you, not for them. That's how it always works.
A lot of those people are still asking, who the fuck is Assange?
So Assange is he's the head of WikiLeaks. Trump. I love WikiLeaks. Oh, I've never heard of WikiLeaks.
Yeah, that guy. Speaking of Trump, I've come to understand that the Steele Dossier is completely bullshit.
It is.
I learned that it was completely bullshit over 2 years ago when one of the YouTubers I watched did an in-depth study into one of the reports. They just did research into one of the reports about the Steele Dossier and how it was just sort of fabricated from bullshit. Of bullshit. And now I'm seeing an actual article that came out recently that talked about the fact that the Steele Dossier is built upon bullshit, upon bullshit, upon bullshit, and that the people who are mentioned in the dossier itself aren't even in the government or connected highly in the government if they're there. And they also, those individuals who were mentioned in the dossier are coming out and saying, we never said any of that.
The one thing that made it seem like the entire Steele Dossier was bullshit to me?
Name it.
The P-tape.
Ah!
The whole thing is that, he's got a P-tape in his compromat, and...
Look, this isn't Kanye.
Listen, well, yeah, I mean, this isn't Kanye. I don't... Trump just doesn't fill that personality, profile.
He doesn't drink?
Yeah, he doesn't drink with his brother. So his brother was an alcoholic and died and all that stuff, and so he doesn't drink. I used to not drink, and then I started doing the show. And now I don't drink unless I'm doing a show.
Excellent.
But speaking of things that are
right
bullshit...
now you know to poison him during the show.
There you go. But things that aren't bullshit, so Cosby...
Oh, that's an amazing story.
It's astounding. I find it absolutely astounding.
So the whole deal with that...
He looks like shit.
Yeah, he does look like shit.
God, he's been in jail for 2-3 years or something like that.
Yeah, and it just goes to show you the power of the pudding pop. But
there is so much wrong with the fact that I was just listening to Tim Pool remark about this, and there's so much wrong with the fact that Cosby somehow is out of jail. For all the disgusting things that he has done.
Yeah, but
allegedly.
But the thing is that it's still legally the right decision.
It is legally the right decision. And then we also have the case with Chauvin.
Yep.
Yeah.
Where there didn't seem to be anything right with that, and yet it still moved forward.
Yeah, apparently I caught a headline just before we were getting ready to do the show, something about a plea deal with the federal government.
In regards to...
I don't know. It's something I got to look into, and we'll probably talk about it in the next episode. But so the Cosby issue is that the original prosecutor didn't think there was a strong enough case to prosecute Cosby, so it made a deal where Cosby would waive his... Well, he wouldn't have a Fifth Amendment right in a civil trial, but he would be immune from all government prosecution. right? And
Yes.
all things relating.
But
So that prosecutor, he cycles out. A new prosecutor comes in and says, "Oh, you know what? Fuck that deal. We're just going to prosecute him anyways." So they prosecute him. Cosby goes to jail, violating the terms of his agreement. And now, and it's the whole conversation, right? The whole idea of where you want your victories to be, right? Because you can either you try to go for it all and lose it all, or you can take the small victories as you can get them, right? And that's what the whole.
This reminds me of a bad deal with a bank where you walk into the bank and for 3 weeks you're dealing with this one guy, and then suddenly that guy disappears and everything that you talked about with that guy that you may have even signed about, and then suddenly a new guy gets put on the case and he's like, "What the fuck's going on? Oh,
Yeah.
that? No, we can't do that anymore." And then that person gets screwed out of whatever deal he was making with the bank to begin with. It just seems like bad juju.
Yeah, I mean, because now you compare it with the Allison Mack case, right? So the Allison Mack is the NXIVM cult, and man, why can't I have my own sex cult? But anyways,
You could start it now, man. You still have time.
does anybody want to be in my sex cult?
That's not how you start it, man. That's. I'm sure people are gonna actually walk away because you said it like that.
Oh.
You gotta be more suave. You gotta be more sexy.
Does anybody want to be in my sex cult? Like that?
That's even worse.
Oh, okay.
You just, I'm out.
So
Hi, Joe kids.
So here's another situation, right? Because she pled, she made a deal, right? And we kind of talk about like the Cosby situation, the Allison Mack situation, because you have this situation where the quote unquote smaller fish take a plea deal to get the larger target, right? And that's what Allison Mack did. She still wound up getting 3 years, which many people are saying is not enough as reparations for Smallville, but
See, I didn't even look up into that. I heard that a Smallville actress was sentenced to jail, and I'm like, what the fuck?
yeah, it was the whole NXIVM cult thing, and yeah, and talking about like these cult and people getting these cult mentalities. I mean, you see it everywhere in life. You see it with the COVID. And the authoritarianism and the whole left versus right thing and all this other stupid bullshit. People will just fall in line for these stupid things, and it won't be until some time in the future where we'll just look in hindsight and just either try to blame somebody else for it, or they'll just have regrets. Usually they'll try to blame somebody else for it because that's how people are. They're all assholes. What do you got going on?
Nothing. Sorry, I just got a reply.
I know. So next on the topic is we have Facebook, and there's a couple things with Facebook. You want to start off with one of them, Greg?
Let me just pull it up. I was
So much
looking
with
into
Facebook.
a trial with Facebook or something with regards to Facebook because Facebook was denied protection under 230 in a particular.
Denied protection.
Yes. I gotta find the specific article though. Why don't you talk
Well,
first?
so the other thing with Facebook is that there was an antitrust action taken against Facebook, and it seemed very poorly prepared. And even the judge was like, "No, rewrite this, come back. No, rewrite this, come back." And then finally, the judge dismissed the case, but without prejudice, still citing that the FTC couldn't really make it. Was it the FTC? No. Yeah, I think it was the FTC couldn't make its argument. Not even counting the fact that like the FTC allowed Facebook to purchase like Instagram and whatnot. But
I found it.
Facebook doesn't have technically Facebook doesn't have a monopoly because they're in competition with Google and other social media sites. And that's ultimately not the direction to go with trying to get Facebook and these other sites and whatnot.
So the where they were denied this 230 was in Supreme Court of Texas on petition for writ of mandamus in a particular case that was earlier this year, I think in February. And I don't know the specifics, but I found it very interesting that I was listening to this, I believe, on Viva Fry's vlog on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Lawyer breaks down number of cases, has his own opinion on stuff, but tries to be very unbiased in what he talks about, sticking to specifically just how he believes the law is going to fall or the explanation of what's going on behind it. But he did a really good breakdown on this, and it doesn't surprise me that this happened in Texas.
Yeah, I mean, you have some certain states that are what's it called, going hard against, or trying to go hard against the social media companies and whatnot, and which I'm pretty sure is why California is banning them from, or trying to ban them from traveling to these states.
Well, California is trying to stem an egress of a lot of employers and taxpayers.
Mm-hmm.
A lot.
California is an awful place. Except if you're going there for the scenery. The scenery is quite beautiful.
And then you want to
Outside
leave
of
promptly.
The cities, I should say. Do not go to the cities. The cities are full of poop and tents if they're a major city like Los Angeles.
Don't overlook
or
the
San
needles.
Francisco.
A lot of drug issues.
Yep. But if you're going there for the big trees, people love their big trees.
I remember when all the needles would float down the Hudson River.
Ooh. Bad times. We might be getting back to there.
Yeah, probably, right? You know, with the way shit's going.
But I think this is clearly, when I heard that California was banning travel to states over the fact that they had some sort of thing with LGBTQ, I'm like...
Yeah, that was the whole reason.
What?
Something with LGBTQ.
You can't ban going to a state, period. And over a bullshit reason like that, this is clearly a state that wants to virtue signal how...
Yeah.
much they love LGBTQ.
And they still have the harshest lockdown restrictions going on in the country.
Let us remind ourselves that even though California went through such harsh lockdowns to combat a virus which has over a 99% survivability rate, they still had about similar rates or worse than Texas and Florida.
Yep.
I mean, that's probably why they're not allowing people to travel there. They don't want to. They want them to be healthy.
You don't want them going to outside. If they could have masks off their face, oh my God. They might actually get some air into their throats, into their lungs, and breathe and start thinking again.
I know.
Even in the fall, they're talking about requiring students to come back with masks, even if vaccinated.
Yeah, I don't see that
Delta
happening.
variant!
I just don't see that happening.
Yeah, it's Delta variant, which is supposedly even less. Apparently, it's got even less lethal statistics.
Well, you know, as viruses tend to become more transmissible, they tend to be less lethal.
Well, see, this is the thing about, like, everybody's like, oh, mutation. Well, mutation, you know, people don't even realize what a mutation is. A mutation can make something more benign as much as it can make something more harmful. And and actually the chances are is that it's going to make it more benign just because of the way that, you know, amino acid chains work and the way they shape themselves. I want to bring something up
real quick because I keep hearing this statistic. This particular statistic that keeps being brought up by the mainstream media, the M5M, for I don't know whatever reason, they believe this is a good statistic to keep talking about. They're talking about. God damn it, Google! I hate them. So, they are talking about the fact that new cases in the United States or in these hot zones that they keep talking about, 25% of all the cases are the Delta variant. But I just want to point out that new cases across the United States, as according to the New York Times, as of today, or yesterday I should say, new cases was 13,000, okay? 683. If new cases was 13,683 for the entirety of the United States, 25% is just above 3,000. And, well, at the height of these supposed cases, January 10th, which is right around the highest amount of cases in a single day, which still doesn't make any sense to me, we had over 208,000 cases. So if 3,000 plus cases are the Delta variant, compared to 5 months ago, where there were more than 5 months ago almost, 200,000, that's like nothing, okay? What's even worse is I've heard that there's a Lambda variant. But I think that was just an error that the person got when they were talking about it, because I isn't Lambda after Delta?
I believe so.
So we haven't gotten to that variant yet.
Wait, actually, I think Epsilon is after Delta.
Well, no, I think Lambda, I mean, in general,
Oh, yeah.
is if after Delta.
It's all stupid
They're just
horseshit.
creating letters from the Greek alphabet to represent variants at this point, so that way they can scare the public.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so scary.
It's scary. Not like my sex cult. My sex cult is not a very scary place.
You know, it's really scary.
What's that?
That person from the UK.
Which one? There's so many of them out on the streets.
The one that was turning transracial.
Oh, you mean,
Oh,
I think
God.
I'm turning Korean. I think I'm turning Korean. I think so.
You're dissing the vapors, man.
So this person's like, oh, you know, the whole idea of transracial is a thing, and this person comes out and says, after a whole bunch of surgery, is like, I think I'm Korean. You know, I'm coming out as a Korean person, and of course, the first reaction is
Angry typing.
because, I mean, and that just shows you the fucking hypocrisy of it all. Because what's it called? I'm like, oh, transracial is a thing, and you can be whatever gender, whatever race you want.
Honk,
Now,
honk.
it's both sides of the fucking coin, right? Because on one side is like, why would this guy do this? I mean, sure, you want to do it. It's your fucking life, man. But at the same time, you got all these fucking other people that are like celebrating this bullshit, and they show their fucking hypocrisy.
I don't even know. You know, this is so depressing and nightmarish. I want to move on.
It's like a car crash. You want to stay and like
It's-
I fucking hate
watch.
humanity.
Look, I think humanity has done a great job up until now. I am still in support of the fact that I believe humanity will eventually turn on itself and go back to being normalish.
No. I will only drink to the humanity destroying itself.
Okay, to the destruction of humanity.
That's what we drink to every day anyway. So, speaking of humanity, Britney Spears is still in the news.
She doesn't
So-
have humanity.
Apparently, because she has conservatorship over her. So we talked about it on Monday, but so now there's a picture floating around of her dad living in a trailer, and
Well, that doesn't surprise me. She was trailer trash to begin with.
Ooh.
I'm sorry, was that too soon?
now the thing is so from what I understand, her father has part financial conservatorship over her, but her healthcare conservatorship is under somebody else,
That's weird.
which is weird. And the judge made a ruling to keep everything the same. So now there's actually this one channel, Legal Bites, which is another lawyer on YouTube, and according to her, she's dealt with the judge before, and she said that she doesn't really remember anything about the judge, which means she's like there's nothing remarkable about her, right? So
Right.
could be it doesn't seem like anything out of the ordinary. So just based off of the fact that she doesn't really remember anything remarkable about the judge, it seems like it leads her to believe it's probably an honest and fair ruling. So I'm just like wondering what the hell is going on, because the idea of conservatorship is a really fucking scary thing.
Sure.
I mean,
I honestly think there's not enough information that's been talked about
yeah,
for anybody rationally to know what the fuck is going on.
right, and that's the thing. Like everybody's on the outside looking in.
This is why I typically don't follow these types of stories. It's
Well, I mean,
what's that word, floss for the brain or something like that, or
floss for the brain.
I don't know. It's something like that. But this type of stuff, this is just, to me, this is nonsense celebrity gossip.
Well, no, because
But it's also scary at the same time.
yeah, because you have the whole idea of conservatorship, and you hear these stories about people that are old and living alone, and some random person gets conservatorship over them and takes away all their money, and these people, then the old people have like no home, no nothing, because this person committed fraud.
I thought that was typically the nursing home.
Well, nursing homes are a different story. It's there's a whole exchange going on there, but
Okay.
you have these stories where, like I said, like some old guy or some old woman or even a couple, all of a sudden they're not getting their Social Security check anymore, and they come to find out that it's because some random ass fucking asshole got conservatorship, went to the judge, maybe greased the palms of some people, and they're just taking all these people's money, and then they lose their home, they lose everything, and it's really, and that's what makes this all really scary shit. And I think that's why this Britney story, is concerning to a whole lot of people, because of the whole idea of conservatorship and what people can do to you.
Well, you know who has conservatorship right now?
Who?
Not just this person and the father, but also the governments of the world in some regard. Now, I think that's why there was a big protest in London.
Yeah, I mean, the whole fucking world is unhappy.
Yes, as evidenced by the numerous protests and riots of multiple millions of individuals all of last year, over the course of the entire year, and continuing, and continuing, and continuing.
I mean, if you really think about it, it's like, I would almost be willing to bet that half the world's population, more than half the world's population at this point, lives under some kind of bullshit, because you think about, the conditions in China and the conditions in India, and you got a huge chunk of the world population just between those two countries. That's like 2.5 billion people between those two countries.
Look, what I've come to realize over time is that the natural state in which the world exists is that there are people who want to rule over other people because they're
fucking psychopaths.
It's their fancy to have power over other individuals, to say, "Jump for me, monkey, jump."
Mm-hmm. And people fall in line, but I mean, it's the one thing that, you can have control over yourself, or you can have control over other people. You can't have both.
So you're saying the people who are in control of other people don't actually have control over themselves?
No, because their whole in order to have control over other people, you have to react to what other people are doing.
That means my goal to take over the government is easier than I ever imagined.
Good evil laugh, Gregory.
That was evil laugh number 23. Thank you very much.
He's got a whole record of them. It's copyrighted.
You should compile a Gregory evil laugh clip set.
Perhaps one day.
We can do that in an extras video.
There you go.
I'll have to throw in some of my own evil laughs too.
Yes.
That's
not evil. No, that's more of like a clown that's on drugs. Who's
I was thinking pedo. Ugh.
But
how do you get to that?
You know what's really funny is I was watching a commercial by the NFL.
Ah!
This is a hilarious
Football
commercial.
is gay.
Yes.
And they're talking about smacking each other on the ass.
Like, these are normal behaviors that men tend to do when they are...
I never got the whole smacking each other
I
on
don't
the ass.
either, but apparently it's a thing that
yeah, it's a thing.
In almost any sport, but there's a lot of recorded video of it, of people in football, and so they said, hey, let's turn this into a gay commercial, because...
Oh my God, what kind of marketing genius thought that up?
And then they ended with that new pride flag, which includes the pink and the blue and the brown and the light brown.
Is it the same one that all the Navy guys were forced to put on display?
Oh, I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is. This is disgusting.
I was about to say that, but
if
you
you
beat me
still
to it.
support football in any way, shape, or form, I feel bad for you.
I mean, this
I'm
must
so
be
glad I'm
an
out of the service.
intentional effort to destroy football.
I just don't understand. I've never gotten to football. I never understood what the draw to it was.
Well, I mean, it seems more like... I mean, I agree with you. I never understood it either, like the whole sports and everything. Well, I mean, I understand
enjoyed
once
playing football.
Yeah, I enjoyed playing the sports, but watching... Why the fuck am I going to watch a bunch of overpaid shoe salesmen?
Well, hold up. I've enjoyed watching people play video games because I'm passionate about video games. Okay? But also, I mostly only watch people who play video games that are entertaining with the commentary that they have on it. So, I really don't much care for the actual video games they're playing, but the commentary is more of what I'm there for. Which I like commentary.
You know, in the same line, I'm really passionate about watching people have sex because I enjoy having sex.
There we go. See? So you're a voyeur. That's all right. It's good. Some people like that stuff.
So I gotta do. So apparently Shaq came out and he was saying about like he
Yes,
he
I
makes
heard
all
this.
his money.
It was hilarious. Hilarious. A great take on it too.
Yeah, it's like he makes all his money just basically working for a few hours a day, and you got all these people struggling and whatnot, and that actually makes me think because I was talking to. So
I think he was calling out LeBron.
Oh yeah, he was calling LeBron out and whatnot, but it was making me think because I had this neighbor who moved out recently because she had a boyfriend, moved into the house, but then she's back here because they split up and he owned the house.
Oops,
And
sorry.
Now, and she's telling me like she's only getting. She tore her meniscus while moving. She was struggling for work beforehand, and now the only thing that she has is she's getting like $800 a month of security, Social Security, and she's sleeping on her daughter's couch, and that's the situation that she's living in now. And I'm just like, you know, and I just see this happening a lot around me. I mean, you know, a lot of these families in this area, you know, they ain't doing so well, and you got all these people making money. You have the first black billionaire saying we got to give $350,000 to every black person in the country.
Why do they get that much money?
I don't know. He pulls some money number out of his ass or whatever. I don't know.
What does $350,000 mean?
It's like the guy from BET.
Oh God.
And he's like, oh, he's got to do it for reparations and this, that, and the other thing. But you know, you got people that are struggling.
When are we going to take care of our veterans?
Yeah, that's what I was talking about last episode.
When are we going to take care of them?
I mean, I'm one of the lucky ones.
What about the homeless population that aren't veterans? When do we get to take care of them? Yeah, until we take care of them, I don't think we can take care of anybody else.
Yeah, I mean, there's things that are more important. I mean, besides, you know, we were talking about reparations. Why don't we go to like why don't we like invade the Congo and all those countries that sold all these people into slavery?
Get reparations for the Asians too?
Yeah, I know. Well, no, I was saying so like. Why does it have to be reparations from the people living here? Why can't you just go straight to the source of the slavery and just invade the Congo and all these other countries that sold the ancestors off into slavery?
Sure. Let's go to the African tribes.
But
they are responsible.
You know, that's a really good thesis.
But you know, and on the same time, you know, inflation isn't happening.
Oh, it's happening in a big way.
So I tabulated how much I spent in groceries last month.
Look, my food expenses from groceries,
I'll give you numbers. I tabulated last month what I spent in groceries and food, $505.
For one person,
about $200.
A year ago, $302.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. It's up $200. That was my estimate. I was fairly conservative on that estimate.
And then I think of my neighbor who's only getting $800 a month in Social Security.
None of this makes any sense to me. What do you got them on there for?
It's what? What am I looking at?
No, that one.
This one here?
No, the next one up.
This one?
After that.
Oh, that one?
Yeah.
Oh, we'll get to that in a second.
Okay.
Because I just wanted to complain about this.
You always want to complain. Complaining is good.
Yeah, because you know you have the repo operation still going on, and the repo
Still? More?
almost at $1 trillion a night.
Oh, that's great. That's fantastic.
And again, it's more taking wealth from all of us. It's Jenga. I call it Jenganomics. You know the game Jenga? That's how our economic system is being played right now.
I thought you were making a reference to Django Unchained.
No, I'm talking about the game Jenga. That's how our economic system is right now.
Wow, I never thought of the fiat system on that.
That's what. But nothing's wrong. You know, here's some puppies and kittens and all this other stuff, and it's all bullshit.
$1 billion?
$1 trillion.
$1 trillion.
Almost at $1 trillion, and of course the balance sheet's still going up. And
when are you people going to wake up to the bullshit that the government is peddling?
yeah.
First you tell me, don't believe the government. Then you say, let's believe the government. I'm saying, fuck everybody. Be skeptical about whatever anybody says.
Mm-hmm.
Do your own goddamn research. And then once you've found real sources that you can actually listen to that give you good information consistently, still
Not us, though. We're not good
look
sources.
into them every now and then, because you need to double check that your sources haven't been compromised at any time. Because the government does not have your best interests at heart.
I'm compromised morally because I have no morals.
That means that most of your information is probably good information. You just don't give a shit about people because you're willing to tell them the truth. People who
That's
aren't
why I
willing
love
to
the
tell
truth. The truth is the most painful fucking thing you can give to somebody. That's why I love it so
We
much.
need to talk about. There's an episode I want to talk about suffering and how necessary it is for life, but that's for another day.
All right. So moving on. So more social stuff. So many of you may or may not be familiar with the website Kotaku.
Very aware of them. I stopped reading any of their articles over 5+ years ago.
So they come out with an article a couple of days ago saying that games journalism is failing, and the reason why games journalism is failing.
What?
See if you can guess it.
I'm gonna guess.
It's insufficiently diverse.
Close.
No, I don't think it's gay enough.
No. It's because people don't want to be educated on life issues.
Okay,
Oh,
I'm gonna point
God.
this out. So years ago, I used to be subscribed, in a sense, that I had their stuff on my browser, right? I had Kotaku, I had Gizmodo, I had their entire network. Okay, do you know what drove their network into bankruptcy?
Woke.
Yes. They became entirely too woke. They had an entire Jalponic. Jalponic was all about cars. Okay. Some reason down the line, it stopped having stuff only exclusively with cars. It started having stuff that had nothing to do with cars. Woke content. And I'm like, what does this have to do with cars? They had an entire sports network, which apparently people, read and stuff. The new owners who bought the Kotaku network years ago told them you have to write actual content about sports or you're gone or something like that, right?
Yeah, I remember that.
And they argued, well,
They said no.
No, we don't. We get more views from the people who want to hear about the politics stuff and the woke stuff and blah 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 blah.
People need to be educated about how white men are bad. And now
Nobody wanted that on a sports. You lose your viewership because people want sports. They don't want woke.
according to them, that's games journalism and is being educated on how the white man is bad.
Fuck them. They have an awful platform amongst their network called The Root. The Root is basically racism on drugs, on steroids.
That's what the R is.
Okay, yes. All the authors have to be these black supremacist type people because almost every article that I ever read on The Root, which was part of the Kotaku network, was about how white people bad. And it made no sense to me. And all their articles were very, very biased.
There's another reason
We
why.
need to move on because I will continue to talk about how awful Kotaku is.
Well, there is one more reason that I do want to throw in the mix is that because Kotaku and all these sites are basically the mainstream media equivalent of gaming journalism.
They were when Kotaku was talking about actual game news, and then eventually they started filtering in stupid articles that talked about literally nothing. They were just articles of nothing about how bad you are as a person.
These websites would do all the puff pieces for games that were shit and come out.
They used to do real journalism.
Yeah, they
on
used
actual
to.
games.
But I'm talking about after a while, all these websites became like the mainstream media equivalent, where they would just do all these puff pieces on games that were broken or.
There is a common thread about why people do not tune into mainstream news anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It is because they keep trying to infiltrate their own biases into their news journalism.
It's
without
not
telling
news
you
journalism
that it is a opinion piece. They try to tell you, oh, we're not reporting our opinion. Just so you know, people, this is clearly my opinion and his opinion and maybe Red's opinion. I don't know, but
I
we're not
think I'm the
journalists.
most authoritative of the lot here.
I don't consider any of my opinions to be actual facts. I'm just giving my opinion on it.
If you listen to me, you're
Kotaku.
fucking stupid.
Kotaku. They kept on inputting their own opinions into stuff. They kept on trying to throw this woke bullshit at your face. And
Which is
making you
no
swallow.
different
And
than
it's like,
all the other corporate
I
media.
just came here for a review. I came here to find out why I should or shouldn't buy this game. Or what is happening
Does this
in the
game
video
work?
game
How's the
scene.
play control? White men are bad. That's your play control review.
Unbelievable. I'm disgusted by them.
Man, I still can't shake off the last little bit of this cough. You know, I made some chicken paprikash earlier, and it's made with sour cream, and so all that dairy was making me produce phlegm. So I'm like coughing now.
I feel bad for you, man. I also feel bad for people who live by trees. Because apparently trees can spread COVID.
Did you see all the trees? By the way, did you see the piano in the parking lot?
I did not. I was listening to some random YouTuber, and they talked about the fact that there was an article about COVID could be spread by trees, and I was like, there's no way someone
That
actually
is
did a
so
study
far
by
out.
this.
Come on.
No one actually did. I looked it up. There was a study that was done.
It's a coronating.
About COVID being spread, I think, by like spores or some bullshit from trees.
It's the coroning.
Yes,
coronating.
the coroning. It is hilarious. It's like, we need to figure out another way to scare people into getting a vaccine.
Scare them into going indoors.
We've
Wear
figured
masks.
it out.
COVID's
If we tell them the trees are their enemies.
COVID's going to make you lay down in front of a lawnmower.
Also stupidity in the news. Apparently you can get a Big Mac and a vaccine at the same time. There's a number of McDonald's that are apparently setting up as vaccination centers or something like.
They are really desperate to push this stuff.
Oh,
Yes.
speaking of being, I saw a headline that getting COVID will lower male fertility rates.
Isn't that what all of the people the women in Africa were complaining about?
You mean from the doom spell?
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I find it hilarious. My buddy who I work with at my company, he was telling me that he went to Panera and they set up in the shopping center they set up a vaccination center right next to the Panera as well. And I'm just thinking to myself, I was reading some articles. There's apparently all these benefits you can get by getting the vaccine, according to New York. So you can get gift cards.
You can get money for getting the doom spell.
What? More bullshit incentives.
I love it. People are fucking stupid enough to buy it too.
You ever see one of those?
We know somebody who's happy that they can get all the Krispy Kremes they want now.
You ever see one of those CDs at a Asian supermarket? That's just when you walk in, they have all these things, and like there's CDs, there's pamphlets, there's tons of stuff. This is all nonsense. It's free bullshit they want you to take because they make money off of you for doing this. I have to assume the government is regretting spending our money on.
The government's regretting spending money.
That's pretty funny.
I think that's the truth. It's like, we're sitting here with product that's expiring, and we can't use it. How are we going to justify this to the... Oh, wait. We don't have to justify. We could just keep spending more money. So, The Guardian came out with a news report from someone in some medical government agency that says that there may be intense flu this winter. Worse than COVID.
May be terrible.
Apparently, flu will be worse than COVID this winter in this article I was reading.
And my first thought is how?
I think the same thing. Also, where was the flu last year? It didn't exist. In fact, if you look at the numbers of last year, the flu was almost gone.
And speaking of things that didn't exist this year, have you seen any cicadas around?
Yeah, I saw some.
Yeah, there's not really any around here.
Yes, because in North Jersey they don't seem to exist. But when I was in Princeton the other day, I saw cicadas and heard them like crazy. I was at a liquor store buying some whiskey and some beer, and I was like, oh, what the fuck is that on the ground? And I'm like, oh, that's a dead cicada. Yep, that's a dead cicada. And what's that? Weird noises in the background.
Aliens.
That's
Aliens.
The cicadas being very upset that we are here.
It's aliens.
They exist, I think, in the swampier areas of the state.
I forget where cicadas normally habitat.
I'm almost certain it is the swampier areas, but I could be completely wrong. It might just be areas that they live in.
So yeah, don't get the flu, or because it definitely will be the flu.
Yeah. Just remember, when they fill out your death certificate as the COVID, your family isn't getting anything out of that.
And that's one thing too, because because I had a cold.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking, I don't know if I mentioned in the last episode, but I was thinking recently about, you see all these deaths due to coronavirus.
Yes.
And then I was like thinking from last episode, I was like, well, the cold's a coronavirus too. So,
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
There's a lot of coronaviruses.
Yeah.
One of my suspicions, based on just what I've read, what I've heard, and my own thoughts, is last year, all of the people that were dying from various died with COVID or died from COVID or however they wanted to justify. It reminds me of the COVID special from South Park. The cops shot Tolkien because the cops apparently became the teachers in the class for some reason or another. They no longer were allowed to be police, so they had to get other jobs. So they all became teachers, right? And
Those damn Republicans
they
defunding
did
the police.
they did the classic trope: the police shoot the black kid or something like that, and it was ruled to be a result of COVID. Why? Because of COVID, they lost their jobs and they had to become teachers. Because they were teachers, it was all stemmed back from the fact that from COVID. It was a thing from COVID. It was hilarious. And it's like, yes, this is the bad logic you could be using in a hospital. Oh, they came in, they died with COVID. Mm-hmm. Oh, they died because we gave them a test that somehow came out positive that they had COVID. Did they die from COVID? No. But they died with COVID.
Or some roundabout reason that involves COVID.
How we get paid.
So let's see, a couple of topics left. So Florida, this building in Florida, this condo building, did you hear about this?
Yes, I've heard a number of good opinions on it, and then I heard one news report on it, and I was sold on the good opinions, not the news report.
Oh, okay.
So the building collapsed partially. Mm-hmm. Do you know why it collapsed?
Yeah, because amongst other things, poor maintenance.
Yes, that is what came out initially as reports were coming in about this. Amongst also the still, I think, 100 plus missing people.
Yeah, I saw pictures from inside from beforehand, and you could see like the concrete just broken up and the rebar rusting.
So there was, I think, someone from overseas, a Danish individual or something like that. They were talking about the fact that concrete and reinforced concrete, steel, and all that like that is really strong architectural engineering type of thing. You see the pictures that I saw. It's clear that there are holes in this column of sorts that is allowing moisture to get in, and it is destroying what is inside of this structure, and that is what led to
Chinese construction practices?
No. The people I was listening to thought it was Chinese copper with holes in it.
Oh my God, for real?
No, I think they said that as a joke because there's a possibility.
I was going to ask if you were listening to Hillary Clinton.
No.
No,
But
it would have been Russian,
they came to
Charles.
the conclusion that it was going to be construction, but they also came to the conclusion last week that it was going to be ruled by the media to be. What do you think they thought it was going to be?
Racism.
No, close, because this has led to racism according to the news.
Oh God, go ahead.
Climate change.
Oh, bullshit.
So the news, I saw an article. They were talking about, the waters are rising and it's eroding the beaches and blah 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 blah. But it's just bad construction.
Well, not bad construction. It's poor maintenance. That's what it is. So now here's the thing of this, because you got people comparing this to 9/11, the towers falling.
Oh my God, get a grip.
I got more information on this too.
Wait, because I got some interesting stuff to throw out there. Now, here's the thing: if you can compare this building falling, the video of this building falling to the towers falling, you will see a stark difference in the way the buildings fall. This building, now some people are trying to say that this building was brought down and this, that, and the other thing because of sparks. No, that's the wiring. This building fell naturally, unlike the Twin Towers, which fell unnaturally, and you could tell if you pay attention to the minute details of how the different parts of the building fall. Now, the other funny part of this is that they want to bring in NIST to look at why the building fell. So apparently,
they want to bring in an investigation group?
NIST. You know what NIST is?
I don't know exactly.
The National Institute of Science and Technology.
Okay, no.
These were the ones. So they're gonna spend 7 years on it and say that the building fell from thermal expansion.
Who said this?
That's what they said about the Twin Towers. Because NIST was the same one that took 7 years. First they came out with some half-assed theory. Oh no, that's not it. And then they came out with another half-assed theory. After 7 years, they're like, Oh, it fell due to the Twin Towers fell due to thermal expansion. Yeah, thanks for telling us that ice floats on water.
So I've heard some very interesting things from the locals. I was reading a report from locals in the Miami area,
Right.
and apparently it was very well known that the owners of the building were in debt,
Mm-hmm.
and that they couldn't pay some number of bills and such.
Yeah,
And that there's suspicion that they now I can't say this is true, but there is suspicion that they may have tried to have this happen so that way they could get paid out on some sort of insurance claim, which is really interesting. But it was apparently very well-known knowledge that the owners of the building were just in debt and didn't have the money to upkeep the building.
Yeah, because the expenses on this repair work on this building was going to cost $15 million.
Yes.
And and then the other thing people are tossing out there is for why this building fell is because of regulations, right? And people passing the buck in different bureaucracies and whatnot.
Well, that's what bureaucracy is all about. You create some laws, then you just pass the buck along until suddenly it goes through.
Yeah, and this is the one thing too of like, even like regulations. Why? And you have these whole narratives about regulations. There's too many regulations, or there's not enough regulations, and people kind of miss the point where the problem with regulations is that it always winds up being rules for thee, not for me. Not this one-sided too many or too little regulations. They kind of ignore the nuance of it.
So the last thing I want to mention is pollution. Pollution has always been something that's on my mind. I am not a climate change activist or anything amongst those crazy people, but it is something I pay attention to, and it is something that concerns me because of the fact that we just don't seem to care as a society about pollution in any great sense. And I mentioned this in an earlier episode about the fact
I only care about the noise pollution that you're making.
Yeah, fuck you. The fact that masks... I keep seeing numerous masks all over the fucking roads.
Right.
The paths. And
Ban the straws, but ditch your masks on the streets,
right,
bitches.
This thing it's really bothering me that I keep seeing masks all over the place, and the same people that seem to advocate for wearing the masks, getting the vaccines, and all that bullshit somehow used to be climate change activists, or maybe they still claim they are, and yet they don't see the fact that all these masks are made of plastic, not cloth. They're made of plastic for the most part.
Right, they take out their steel
synthetic
straws.
fibers or anything of that nature. That's pollution, plain and simple. But here's another thing that people are just not realizing is the fact that plastic usage has also gone up in addition to just the mask. You go to Starbucks, how do they give you your
the
things?
little styrofoam cup.
Well, no.
Or not,
no, I'm talking
styrofoam.
about the fact that since COVID, the amount of plastic that has been used to make certain that your Wawa donuts, your
No, not only
Starbucks
that.
shit, your every coffee shop that I've gone to, in some degree, is now using more plastic than
Why are you going to
ever
coffee
before.
shops?
Because I like coffee shops.
I don't like coffee
Okay,
shops.
I like commercial coffee shops as well as third-party.
Now, here's
shops.
the other aspect of it too. What have people been doing a lot of in the past year? Ordering stuff to be sent to their homes.
Yes.
What's all that packing material made out of?
Plastic.
And-
So,
And I still find fucking trash in the goddamn recycling. Fucking people. Kiss my ass.
people don't understand how to recycle. People don't understand how to take care of the planet. People don't understand anything, and yet they claim to be for all of these initiatives.
Mm-hmm.
It really pisses me off because I try my best to make sure that I throw stuff out correctly in some regard.
You can see the pile of recyclables I got here because the local thing doesn't take it.
Sure. I find it incredibly hypocritical of individuals when they say they are for all these things that stop climate change and blah, 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 and yet they still don't recognize the fact that because of the lockdown of this, what other people will call the pandemic, the amount of plastic usage has skyrocketed through the roof, and plastic is incredibly detrimental to this to the environment.
Yeah, even if you're recycling
it has a very, very long half-life, and it does not degrade very
You know,
well.
you would think that some entrepreneur would go around, would like advertise and post flyers. Don't throw out your packaging material. I'll collect it for free. and then just take all this packaging material and just sort it out by type and resell it. I mean, that's a logistics job right there, and you could do that yourself.
But let's move on
to the topic du jour.
Yes.
By the way, I completely forgot to put timestamps in.
Yeah, I know. It doesn't matter.
You know, fuck it.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
So this is your topic.
Mm-hmm.
Fading ink.
Fading ink. I don't really think there's much to say on this, but it is a very important topic to me because I am an artist.
No, you're an artiste.
Artiste.
Like Hollywood Montrose.
I'm increasingly upset about the fact that cartooning of the day and age has become entirely too similar.
Mm-hmm.
It has made me believe that a number of shows are all drawn by the same people, even though that's not actually true.
Or people educated by the same people.
But that is true. That people have been educated by the same people. There is apparently SoCal or something like that. There's an art institute out in California, and they've been teaching a lot of people that have gone into cartooning all this one particular way to draw. And I am finding a lot of art that is in mainstream cartoons, art in general that seems to be more popularized, is all drawn in very similar, simple styles.
Mm-hmm.
And while I'm not opposed to it. It does feel like everything is becoming too commercialized to me as far as art, and it really upsets me because art should be something that's from you. That should be incredibly personal as to how you draw. There are techniques that you need to learn that are universally across every variety of artists. You need to have certain techniques. You need to learn certain techniques. But I find it becoming too commercialized. It is disappointing.
When you say too commercialized, are you saying that it's all too similar? It seems all too fabricated by the same factory and some sort of a psychic assembly line?
There's something of that nature. Some of my favorite shows all have the same style of art, and it made me believe that they were all drawn and done by the same people.
Are you talking about anime or?
Well, anime is one of them. Anime has become, even amongst anime, art has become boring in some sense.
Let's visit that through time because you have Disney, which would reuse cells.
Yes.
Right. So animation is a long, tedious process.
Used to be.
Well, still can be.
If you do it right.
Yeah, if you do it right, it's a long, tedious process. So you had at Disney, which would reuse cells. You had Hanna-Barbera, which would come up with the scrolling backgrounds. And then, like, even in the '80s, a lot of the cartoons in the '80s were animated by the same company.
Sure. So, but that I think we hadn't reached the critical mass at that point. I think we've reached the critical mass at this. There's a lot of things that have been reaching a critical mass, in my opinion, at this point in time. It is
like your gas.
I'm gonna ignore that. It is you have movies, media, all the medias, the big medias, movies, music, video games, written news. Mm-hmm. They all seem to be similar.
Well, these are all industries that have availed of some form of automation or the other, and there's increasing experimentation with machine learning and AI in these industries.
Sure. So, example to me that stood out amongst first-person shooter type stuff, or maybe I don't know. Maybe it's their third-person shooter. I'm not certain of the specifics, but Fortnite. You look at Fortnite. Fortnite is
third person.
Is it third person? Okay. Fortnite is a completely different kind of artistic style than your typical shooter is.
Yeah, I think they use cell shading.
Yes. But
which was made popular by Wind
before
Waker.
Fortnite became as big as it was, and I don't think Fortnite is anything new. It's just I think the art itself, the way everything is done in that game, is completely unique. The fact that they also had the building aspect to it, I think, is jumping on from the Minecraft generation of stuff.
It's Minecraft Arena.
Yeah, sure. So Fortnite was just another iteration of the PUBG.
Yeah, the arena MOBA.
Yes.
Which
whole entire, and I think that whole entire thing was spawned actually from how popular the movie.
Well, no, you can take
what
those.
the hell is that stupid movie?
You can take those the arena MOBAs all the way back to like Unreal Tournament and Quake 3.
You can, but
Quake 3
those aren't the same.
Well, no, but they spawned.
No, but it wasn't the same. It's not the same. The idea of that there's map that is ever decreasing on size that you can work with is, I would say, spawned from the Mockingjay. What the hell was that movie series?
Oh, the Hunger Games.
Hunger Games, that's it. So Hunger Games created an entire genre of video game that first started.
Why do I even know that?
I don't know. You know it. Hunger Games.
I hate myself for knowing it.
You should. It created an entire genre of video games where people start off in random areas with limited resources, and they have to build their way towards better resources and get rid of anybody.
Just get lucky and find the better resources too.
There's a lot of luck in those types of games as well. Well, that's skill can overcome luck in a number of cases, but sometimes not.
In the good games, yeah.
Fortnite is the art style. It bothers me. I don't like Fortnite. I think the cartoony look is another symptom of.
Well, yeah, like I was saying,
art.
the cell shading was made popular by Wind Waker, and a lot of people liked it because of the art style.
Well, Borderlands used it too, and
but Wind Waker was
the big
beforehand.
one. Yes.
Yeah.
Wind Waker was one of the big ones, but I don't know if Wind Waker was necessarily the one that.
Yeah, that was the one that popularized cell shading.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
But on the flip side, there is an art style that is becoming more popular.
Which is?
Pixel art.
Yeah, that's.
You're seeing that a lot more in indie games.
That is also a big part of Minecraft, I would say. Minecraft made certain kinds of art styles really, really popular.
Right.
And while Minecraft is on one side of the spectrum, the generic art style that I keep seeing in a lot of cartooning is also in that area. So you ever heard of the Regular Show?
Yeah.
Okay. The Regular Show.
It was very regular.
No, it is very irregular. The Regular Show, Adventure Time.
Yeah, Adventure Time.
What's Gumballs? Gumball.
Oh yeah, the show with Gumball.
Yeah, whatever that show is. All that art style is considered to be all the same art style. So I don't like Gumball.
It was a weird show. I would watch
Adventure Time had an interesting art style that was distinctly different. But if you look at Regular Show, it's clear that they are drawn in very similar manner. Steven Universe was interesting as far as art goes, but I found their art style to be, in some cases, it was similar to Teen Titans. Teen Titans was that wonderful anime slash. Thank you for that. Thank you very much. It was trying to be
I've got a little.
Don't explain it to me. It needs to be mysterious.
Okay.
So it was.
It's on my Weep screen. I'll just point that out.
Yes, wonderful. It was
God,
a combination
it's
of American cartooning and anime, and I don't think we saw that too terribly much in many popular cartoons and such. But Steven Universe certainly had that American style mixed with anime cartooning.
Yeah.
But I would say it was the more modern American style that you see in like Adventure Time and stuff like that. And I don't know. It bothers me that so many good shows are all using exactly the same art.
Yeah. So
why are people not being unique?
It's like the kind of familiar. It's kind of like the familiarity aspect. Like to kind of touch on a different topic, but for similar reasons. Like you have this whole idea that like all these shows play the guy, the male figure, as like a buffoon and whatnot, a sports watching buffoon and whatnot. But not really people don't really give credence to the idea that it was a change from one style of show where the father figure was like the wise father figure, and then all of a sudden the father of the figure is a buffoon, and everybody kind of jumps onto that because it's the new thing.
Well, I think that seems to be if I'm being honest, it seems to be a government initiative.
Well, whether it is or not, I mean, there is something to be said for people jumping on that because, oh, hey, it's a new idea, do something different. So you can say the same thing as art with the art styles too. It's like, oh, we have this art style, this show did it, right? And you see it with like video games too. It's like, oh, this video game did this, let's make that.
Well, that is a bigger problem with ingenuity and creativity and also originality.
Right, and that's what I'm referring to with the art styles.
Think about. I'm gonna put this into the conversation, even though it's similar, not really part of it.
You can do tangential stuff. It's fine.
Think about Apple.
Nom nom nom.
Yes, very delicious. Especially
what kind
those
do you like?
pink lady apples.
I like gala apples.
No, it's. Anyways, Apple was a really good company at coming up with new ideas while Jobs was still alive.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how much of an impact Jobs had on the company as far as how they were working stuff into their whole package of things they wanted people to consume and buy and such.
Right.
But I have to believe that while Jobs is at the company, he had a big impact on how just creative or original ideas they had. Because, and I did a report on Apple while I was in school. The reason I say this is because when Apple and Wozniak first created the company, it was, in some cases, ahead of its time. And it was very unique in what they were proposing. And so while the two of them were in charge, or at least while Jobs was there, they had really good ideas. Mm-hmm. And Jobs got pushed out of the company for about like a 10-year time period.
Mm-hmm.
And during that time, Apple did not innovate, did not create new stuff. They said, let's create boring stuff that we've already done. Because business people say, why change what is already good at selling? We'll just make a slightly better version of it, which is what you see in every cell phone, car company, for the most part. It's just, we just reinvent the same thing we've already done, but we add a new feature that we've already had in the works to the new one. And then a year later, we reinvent it again, and we add that next feature that we've already created to it, as opposed to launching a completely revolutionary thing every few years that just has incredible stuff with it. There's this drive to sell something every year that is different from what we sold the previous year.
Right.
Because we believe that our most loyal customers will abandon the previous product for the new product, so that way they are always ahead of the curve.
The whales.
Exactly. And as soon as Jobs kicked the bucket...
Or buck to kick it.
Maybe. All of the creative ideas, the new ideas, the cool stuff that you could be changing the company into doing, disappeared. And they became like every other cell phone company.
Became just another job.
Yes. Haha. Every phone that was created afterwards was not an improvement upon the previous phone, except for the fact that it added one or two features that the previous one did not.
Mm-hmm.
And after a while, they kept on legally proven destroying their own phones to make you have to buy new ones. Legally proven, by the way.
Never update.
So I see the same thing happening in the art field, and it bothers me to an extreme degree.
So let's get some input from Red here, because Red watches a lot of anime.
Sure.
And she and I have been watching Cowboy Bebop. And we watched Outlaw Star. And
Outlaw Star is good too.
We also watched a couple, what's his name, Ralph Bakshi movies, Coonskin and
I had a
Fire
hard time
and Ice.
with that one.
Did you guys watch Interstellar 5555?
No, but we watched. So the other Ralph Bakshi movie we watched is Fire and Ice.
Yeah, that was very bouncy.
Yeah. So, but talk about the animation styles between those, if you don't mind, Red. Like your impression.
I mean, they were distinct, and they, and each embodied a very distinct vibe. It would just take a fraction of a sound or a fraction of a frame to identify, even what episode, much less the series. And I'm listening to Gregory and agreeing, and this is this deconstruction of art and made into something banal and generic is something that has been in operation for a while. It's been downhill since the fucking Impressionists.
So another thing I want to point out with anime, because I love anime.
I love anime.
I find it increasingly tougher to find anime that is completely different and is new and fun and exciting. And I really hate to say this, but Dot Hack did not start the genre of I'm trapped in another world. No. They may have been the first in my mind that did the whole I got sucked into a video game kind of stuff. but they did not start the genre. That was Sword Art Online. And Sword Art Online was good, but it was a light novel. And a light novel seems to be one of the newest ways that anime is created nowadays. It used to be they would create anime either through original ideas or by taking a manga that was very popular and turning it into an anime because it is just profitable.
Right.
Now it seems that in addition to manga, they are branching out because I guess the ideas are drying up or people are not becoming manga artists.
Well, let me try this on for
Stop touching the table!
Sorry about
You're
that.
bothering me!
I'm sorry.
Jerking off got in the way. Making the viewers thinking that there's an earthquake.
No, it was just me jerking off.
Sword Art Online was originally a light novel, and I've read through majority of the light novels, and I like the light novel series to a great degree. I think it's really good, but unfortunately, the light novel has become the way of doing manga now. Almost every anime. And manga, actually. Mangas are being adapted from light novels, and animes are being adapted from the light novels themselves, and I just find it...
well, let me try this on for size with you, Gregory, because I kind of wonder if there's been an over-democratization.
Over-democratization?
Over-democratization.
I would say there's an over-corporatization.
Well, not everybody who says, I like to draw is good at it. And
that is true.
I like to draw too.
But hold up.
I
want to make a point here. There are awful art styles that actually do really well.
You keep complaining about the Valeria and West Kingdom's art style.
Yes, I fucking hate that game. The guy who does the art for those games, how does he keep getting jobs?
I like it.
It is the ugliest, worst art ever.
Well, art is subjective, just like people's farts.
You're absolutely right. But that's not to denigrate the games themselves, because the games, in some cases, are just awful. The games have nothing to do with the art. The games are terrible in and of themselves, except for Architects and Coloma. I like Coloma because it is a trash game that leans into the trashiness of point salad games. It is good because it is so point salad. So that's
here's
separate.
Here's one thing, right? Because I mentioned Ralph Bakshi before, and this is one thing you don't really see in animation in general is, at least not, especially not nowadays, is a particular artist style that you can recognize when you see like the anime or whatever.
That has a lot to do with the fact that I think the industry has become very standardized.
Right.
Whether it be art from cartooning, American cartooning, whether it be animation from Japanese, but also increasingly is the Korean manhwa style. It is a very... I'm being serious here, man.
No. I just had the movie Clerks, right?
Yes.
They had an animated show?
Yes.
Did you ever see the episode where, like, we didn't have enough money to finish this, so we handed it out to a Korean animation studio?
I didn't see that.
Oh, my God.
So...
Axel Foley jumped right on it.
The Korean manhwa style is... manhwa is basically their manga, right? So the Chinese, the Koreans, and the Japanese all have some sort of manhwa. Someone spells it manhwa. One of them spells it manhua. It's some craziness, but it's essentially, instead of it being a manga, because a manga is like 19, 20 panels worth of stuff. The manhwa is this. It looks like an anime in cartoon or comic form, in comic form, because they just take, it's very wide and varied about the quality of it. Some of the quality is awful, like really, really awful. They will take these generic backgrounds, and then someone draws people, and they just copy and paste it onto the scene. But it also has a lot to do with the manhwas typically also correlate with isekais, or it also increasingly in these stories they're becoming very generic. They're all, I'm so overpowered that I can defeat everything every single time, and blah 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 blah. They like start you 20 years into the story, and they don't explain any of the things that happened up until this point, and then suddenly. I'll explain one. I was reading this one about it's called Trash Hero or something like that. And so the story starts 10 years into the story itself. He's been stuck in this alternate world for 10 years, and he's been trying to defeat the final boss. And finally he defeats the final boss. And then this angel comes out of nowhere and says, I'm sorry, you didn't do a good enough job on your report card. You did this,
your princess is in another castle.
But you failed on social interaction with everybody. So we got to send you back to the beginning.
Your princess is in another castle.
Yeah, something like that. And it's like, where's all the other information, the relevant backstory, all this build up to him becoming this overpowered guy? So you have all these stories where people become overpowered at the beginning of the story for no reason.
9,000.
There's no character building elements. There's only story, bad story, really bad story. It's like I win every time. Where's the challenge? There was no challenge.
That's definitely not the story of my life.
One Punch Man is one of the few stories that was done really crappily with art, but had a good enough story that I thought was, because One Punch Man is one of those overpowered stories, but instead of making it about how overpowered the individual is, they instead make it about the comedy. There's a lot of Japanese humor. If you don't understand Japanese humor, you will miss a lot of the jokes that are in there. So one of the concurrent jokes that's there is, I'm late because I have to get to the sale at the supermarket so I can buy the food because I don't have enough money to pay for everything. So I need to get the sale price. But he can destroy every creature with one punch, right? And there are fights where it seems like he's having a tough time, but he's really not. And then there's all these wonderful puns. Japanese love their puns. If you read Japanese manga, if you read any Japanese manga, you watch Japanese anime, they have fantastic puns. They're very punny.
I don't like horrible puns.
But but they got good jokes. You just gotta sort of understand, because the Japanese culture is completely different than the American culture. So their puns are completely different. The humor is completely different. But One Punch Man does a good job of illustrating the problem of being too powerful, which is that he has no challenge anymore. He's like the character Saitama's like, I just want a good fight. It's his growth as an individual, trying to find a good fight. Whereas in the other stories, it makes it seem like this guy who is so overpowered, there's not really much of a story behind it.
Yeah, I mean that's why like originally had Superman, and it's like, oh shit, he's too powerful. We got to give him problems.
Well, that's why Superman I think is good in some aspects. Because I've read a couple of stories. There was I think it was like a decade ago. There was an entire story where Superman contemplates his strength and what he's doing with it, and he walks across America and he's trying to figure out what he could be doing with his strength and how he could be better doing it. That's why I also like some of the variant stories like Red Sun, where Superman instead lands in Russia, and we see what an individual that has so much power goes out of control to be a nationalist for Russia and what he does with his power, which is really interesting. But that is Marvel. I'm sorry. DC and Marvel Comics have had for a while so many varied artists that have had such good art styles. But I also see there's an issue with those comics nowadays too.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up, like the comic book artists.
They tend to all start looking very similar nowadays, which is really upsetting.
But I think it's part of a conformist instinct. I mean, that part of wokeism is to drive the homogeny of the woke ideology, and I think
that's a bigger issue that's plaguing.
You're seeing that reflected in the artwork.
Comic book industry in general.
Well, I wouldn't really go so far as to say like the whole woke ideology is driving
a big issue on the
industry. Yeah, I mean that's separate. I'm talking about like art style.
Sure.
It affects the art.
Well, no. What I'm saying is that you have if you ever watch people walking side by side, and how long it takes for them to get in step with one another, right? It's that whole phenomenon.
That happens pretty quickly, I thought.
Yeah. Right.
If the people get along.
So
yeah, but I mean, but even still, I mean, you have this this effect that people will kind of conform to some kind of mainstream in general, just out of natural habit, and it doesn't necessarily tie into some kind of woke ideology or any ideology. It's
Well,
just part of
anything
human
that's
nature.
anti-individualistic will drive a lot more conformity. And you know, in listening to Gregory provide further detail into his overview of everybody is kind of falling into being the same, yeah, the ideology is going to affect it.
Yeah, well, as far as I'm concerned, everybody's the same and that I hate them. But
I want to bring this up. One of my favorite movies in general in the last 5 years was Into the Spider-Verse.
I still haven't watched that. I heard it's really good.
It is amongst not only one of the better narratives of stories as far as movies go, but it is also amongst one of the best animated films that I've seen in recent times. And that is saying a lot because I love Pixar animation films. Pixar does a really good job with story usually, and does really well with the actual story itself, animated, to illustrate what they're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Into the Spider-Verse was uniquely different because they had 4 or 5 totally different art styles brought together in one movie. And
yeah, that's right. Because all the
And
different
under a
Spider-Men.
viable, defensible plot line, not just some, bullshit. Okay, let's make Spider-Man black. There was a reason why
Yes.
Spider-Man was black,
Yeah,
and why it made sense, and it was congruent with the universe.
But as far as the Spider-Verse art styles, they were all different artists doing all the different
They
comics.
were
cool.
Yeah.
And
Very cool.
The best part about that was it showed how well a diverse group of artists can be, and also come together as one story to create something that looked visually entertaining.
And
I
had a compelling plot with
Yes.
compelling character development.
I don't like the fact that a lot of Marvel, DC, anything comics are increasingly becoming too similar.
And
They're
too boring.
increasingly becoming stupid in terms of their plot lines, their stories, and also their artwork tends to just look all the same. And it's, once again,
I'm hoping
where
it's going to
is
increase the value of my
diversity-
comic book
Where's
collection.
the diversity of creativity? Why are
I'm just going to point to IP Identical.
That bothers me. Are we sending people off to become artists? Have we gotten to a point where the art industry is a machine? It used to be that being an artist was very tough. I think it's still pretty tough being an artist because I've not seen an easy career in doing any of my art.
I think it's kind of had its waves of being a machine and not, because again, Hanna-Barbera, they were basically a cartoon machine, right? With all the they had the scrolling backgrounds, and that's what allowed them to pump out all these different cartoons, and they were a machine unto themselves. And then you had the 80s with all the different cartoons there. G.I. Joe, Transformers, and all of them were animated. Thundercats, they were all animated overseas. And so it could be that it's just waves, of going into this machine of art and then coming out of the machine of art with individualism.
I don't like it when art becomes commercialized. I don't like it when anything becomes commercialized. It upsets me that we have gotten to the point where there is a generic formula that we can input something and come out with.
Like Marvel
bullshit.
movies.
Marvel movies were Disney created, thus they had a formula to begin with. They already had, and at a certain point they said, let's abandon the really good parts of the formula and just lean into the money making.
I mean, yeah, because you can extend the whole machine aspect of it into the other aspects of the art, like plot lines and whatnot, and why there's no really challenging movies, and except for Joker was a challenging movie, and you don't see things like Silence of the Lambs or whatever that were really provocative movies and came out. So
there should be more, but that entire machine ate up those creative individuals a while ago.
Mm-hmm, yeah,
And consider
molested
also that Hollywood
Both.
is largely now owned by China interests,
Mhm.
and these are not necessarily, these are conformist forces.
So
these are ideological forces.
right. So and you can kind of make the wonder how that ties in with the animation art. So the animation style.
I'm
as
sure it
well.
all ties together. To me, the media in general, whether it be media because of news, whether it be media because of movies, art, video game, all of these things are essentially becoming corralled into one big mass
of shit.
Yes. Absolutely.
Identical.
It's really sad. That's all I have to say about this.
That's all I got to say about that. Yeah, you got anything else you want to add, Red?
Nah, it's kind of like a chill evening. It's been raining all day. It's been great.
Fuck the rain.
Does
Rain
the rain
is awesome.
Does the
Rain
rain
is amongst my favorite weather patterns.
Does the rain have a vagina or an anus?
No.
Well, then
Because
how
you
can you
can't
fuck
fuck
it?
the rain.
I like to fuck in the rain.
You can fuck the snow, though.
You can fuck the snow.
Doesn't
Yes.
that give you chill cock?
I wouldn't know. I haven't engaged in those activities. But you could speak to my snowman brothers. They may have done that.
Boy problems I haven't experienced.
All right, well then I guess that's it for this episode. Then be sure to check out our next episode titled "Just You and Me, Not Them," or not. Fuck you either way. Hi, Greg.
Hi. Remember to never question.
This is what happens when Greg goes on vacation.
Look, I don't want them to question anything. Also, find us on Local Bitch Minds and Rumble. And check out our All Tech Extras.
Next time,
No,
coffee,
I'm ignoring
man.
that part.
All right, so I'm Charles. He's Greg. And as he said, remember to never question, never ask for proof,
Always believe what you're told by the news and politicians.
no matter what. Now go back to sleep, fuckers. Good night, fellow human. You'll wake up tomorrow to cause more destruction and bring much more sorrow. You'll go out and smile and pretend you are good, but once you get crossed, you'll don a black hood. You'll maim and you'll rend all while you pretend that you are some kind of hero. You can't face the truth and you'll stay aloof to the fact that you're a zero. You'll sit and stay glued to a spoon-feeding tube so that you can believe you're the best. You'll obey and be bribed by a campaigner's lies. All throughout the COVID murder fest. I hate you all. Oops. Good night.